Bonjour Quarter Finals. No, it's not a French podcast, but England are playing France in the quarterfinals of the World Cup, essentially. And we are here on the FDT-TV podcast on a weekly basis to discuss it. And as always, I'm joined by Mr. Michael Hawes. How you doing?
I'm good. I'm absolutely bloody knackered. It's just been a constant barrage of life, and more life. And to be honest, mate, I just want to go to sleep.
Well, that's good and bad. It's good to sleep. It's not good to be tired. But before we get started, what I do want to say is I tried to give blood today.
I tried to
give blood, yep. And
here we go.
Never again. Too many questions. Whose blood is it? Where'd you get it? And why is it in a bucket? I don't know why. They didn't want it.
God.
They didn't want it. But anyway, that said, England are through to the quarterfinals of the World Cup. Did you expect them to get this far, Mike?
Yes. I know I know you've been quite pessimistic about England's opportunities, as you'll be able to see from earlier episodes. If you go back and check our archive, you can see Ian didn't think that we were going to get out of the group stages. But I've got to say, actually, after the first game, again, I was starting to get very optimistic, and I very openly gave you an apology last week because of our abysmal performance against the USA. Mm-hmm. But England kind of redeemed themselves, I think, a little bit against Wales. Very comfortable win on that one.
Yep.
And also a very comfortable win eventually against Senegal yesterday. So I'm almost happy that we're kind of we're proving ourselves wrong, because I know we're one of the favourites going into the tournament, but just after the Nations League campaign, it was a little bit sketchy. But again, I think that's one of those things that we really don't like the Nations League campaign anyway, so we shouldn't really have taken too much of that into account. But yeah, it's good to see them doing well. Looking at the opposition for this weekend, France are looking pretty good. There's some still pretty good teams left in the tournament. Some shock results as well, actually, over the last week.
Yep.
Game's turning on a sixpence with minutes to go, and I think for some of the results you didn't see them coming. But I'm really pleased that we've got to the quarters. But I think looking at France, this could potentially be an exit for England at this game.
Yeah, I think you might be right. Now, with what you've said, I think we've done well to get to the quarterfinal, but I don't think we've played anyone of merit yet. I think the USA were our hardest game, or gave us the best game. I mean, Senegal, when you look at them on paper, they were missing 3 of their best players. Mane obviously has missed the whole tournament. Idrissa Gana Gueye was out, and so was Cheku Kouyaté. Now, I'm not saying the rest of the team were bad, but if Idrissa Gana Gueye is sitting in the middle of that midfield, I think it's a slightly different game. But I do think we've gone as far as we're going to go in this tournament when we're going to come up against Kylian Mbappe and the new French top goal scorer in the quarterfinals. France are not obviously at their peak of their powers, and they're got a few notable injuries. Kante's injured, Benzema's injured, so they are arguably a lot weaker than they have been, but they're still putting out performances. Now, I know there's some discussion about Harry Kane going on amongst England fans. I know in our group chat there was. Do you think he deserves to start? And the way we're going to go with this question, I suppose, is Jordan Henderson scored our opening goal against Senegal. Lovely timed run into the box with a pass from Jude Bellingham. Harry Kane was nowhere to be seen. And there was a number of times where if there was a player in the box standing on the penalty spot, as your centre forward should be, he would have had three goals in that game. He did manage to get one and open his account for the tournament, but do you think we will be better suited to play either Callum Wilson or maybe even Rashford up top? What's your thoughts?
Yes, as you mentioned, not just being an Arsenal fan, I really don't think he's contributing much to this tournament for the past two tournaments. To be fair, I mean, don't get me wrong. If England got a penalty, you can guarantee he's going to take it. But again, with Bukayo Saka's goal yesterday, again I thought it was a great team goal. But even the pass out to who was it? Was it Foden?
Yep.
It was kind of like a missed kick off the back of his leg out to Foden, for then Foden to then cross it in a box for Saka to be there.
Yeah.
And don't get me wrong, I'm grateful that Saka was there. But again, that's the sort of position you should be, or your centre forward should be occupying. Now, we've spoken a couple of times about Harry Kane and his role essentially has changed from where he was a couple of seasons ago, because it appears that he's lost his pace. I mean, don't get me wrong, he's a great finisher and arguably one of the best finishers in the country, but he doesn't really seem to be adding anything of value. I think he assisted in the first game and we haven't really seen much of him in the last few games. I think he's been diabolical. Now, I'm not sure if that's the pressure being on top of him. Obviously, captaining the nation, you're going into the tournament as one of the favourites. Is that having an impact on his performance? Quite possibly. I mean, no one knows for sure other than possibly the team and him. But I think with the work rate of some of the younger lads, and we know obviously Callum Wilson was one of the informed strikers going into the tournament, and Rashford's obviously not shy of a goal or two. It couldn't hurt. But I think with what you mentioned last week about Gareth Southgate coming out and saying, look, no, I'm going to go with my strongest 11, but he looks knackered.
Yeah,
he looks absolutely knackered and not really offering much from what I've seen, in my personal opinion.
Yeah, we think he didn't come off, did he, against Senegal?
No.
And maybe we should have rested him. I think we would have got through that game with Callum Wilson playing or with Rashford playing up top. But even then, when we were 3-0 up, he still didn't take him off, which was quite interesting. But Harry Kane obviously may or may not be in the squad. Let us know in the comment section below whether you think he should start. Give us a yes, or if you think he should start, or a no if you think he shouldn't. And on that note, if you haven't already, make sure you go and subscribe to the YouTube channel, FDT-TV. You look for the big yellow cup. That's us. Go and subscribe. Get involved. But we know two players that definitely will miss out. Ben White obviously left the squad for personal reasons. There's no one really knows why. There's speculation here, there, and other. But obviously the FA have asked for people to give him some space, which I think mostly people are respecting. So yeah, whatever's going on there, hopefully he gets that sorted quickly and he's back to being back to his best. And the other one, Raheem Sterling, has now also left the squad after armed robbers broke into his house where his family was while he is away. So hopefully they are all okay and safe and sound. But yeah, not good. Do you think that perhaps Sterling is the bigger miss out of the two, being that Ben White is seen as more the backup player?
Yeah, again, from what's been discussed amongst our little group is that we think that the defence hasn't really had much to do. And therefore, with the likes of Maguire, Stones, Carl Walker's obviously back now. Yeah. We've got Trippier there as well. We've got Luke Shaw is playing really well. So I would say yes, he is going to be one of the bigger misses, because I think what proved us, I suppose, right in a sense, was the game against America. We didn't really create anything going forwards. Yeah. Granted, in the other 4 games or the other 3 games that we've played, we have scored some good goals. but I think we have got options within that position. We've obviously got Jack Grealish, Phil Foden can occupy those positions. Marcus Rashford, Bukayo Saka, I suppose, is another option depending on where you want to play him. But yes, I do think he will be a miss because he's in an England shirt. He's really good.
Yep.
Offers pace. Can score a goal as well. So I think he would be a bigger miss out of the two. As much as obviously, you know, I love Ben White being an Arsenal fan and I was really glad to see him get called up. But yeah, I do think that Sterling would be a miss.
Yeah.
For the current squad.
Yeah, and so he's one of those that he's sort of an experienced head now in the England squad. Obviously, he's been there, done that, won everything bar the Champions League. And so he seems to turn it on for England even when he's not in form for his club. But yeah, as we said, hopefully both of them are well, and whatever's going on with them, they get that sorted sooner rather than later. Interesting matchups, I think. We see that the pace of Ismail Assar took out Kieran Trippier from the team and Kyle Walker came back in. Similarly, we've got one of the fastest players in the world in Kylian Mbappe. He's going to be playing for France. We know he's going to start. He's made people break their ankles, so to speak, without even having the ball so far this tournament. He scored 2 in the last game. Do you think that that's going to be a matchup with Kyle Walker just to try and keep up with the pace, or do you think they're going to go with maybe the slightly more defensively solid Kieran Trippier?
For me personally, I think you've got to go for Kyle Walker more so on speed than anything.
Yeah.
Because I mean, even if you get one of these balls put through, I think Kyle Walker. Sorry, I don't know what happened now. It's a complete brain fart. I was like, reboot. Yeah, I do think Kyle Walker would be able to give him more of a game. I mean, Kieran Trippier may have the footballing brain and therefore be able to keep him, I suppose, positionally. But all it's going to take, you've said it a couple of times, is all it's going to take is a couple of balls over the top, and we are going to struggle. So
it's a difficult.
I think.
It is a difficult one, isn't it? Because it's do you go with a pace of Walker who can get back, and you know he will, or do you go with the ball playing of Trippier who may try and drag Mbappe back, but you know he's not going to go and defend, so we could overload, but then you're going to get caught out. But so it is a difficult one. I agree with you. I think it's going to be a Kyle Walker start. Here's the thing: I do think we may end up playing 3 at the back or 5 at the back, which will be
I was just going to say
will be a real disappointment. If I'm totally honest, I think we've got to try and grab the game by the nuts and take it to France if we're going to get anything out of it. Another interesting matchup will be John Stones, not Jon Snow. He's not from the wall. John Stones and Harry Maguire versus Olivier Giroud, who is, you would say, past his prime now, but he just seems to get better with age, a bit like a fine wine. He is now France's top goal scorer, overtaking Thierry Henry. Obviously, we were graced with his presence in the Premier League for a long time at Chelsea and Arsenal, which was phenomenal. And full of confidence still. Full of goals. And I think in some senses, probably the better choice over Benzema. But do you think he's going to get the better of Stones and Maguire?
Well, coming up against them in the Premier League in the past, he's going to have a bit of knowledge about them. There's no undenying. He's probably one of the most underrated strikers ever. I would say. There was people that were writing him off even when he was in an Arsenal shirt, and he was kind of top scorer for us. But I do think he will cause us problems because he's one of these players that again hasn't had a lot of pace for a while. But my God, has he got an amazing footballing brain and a hell of a left foot. So it wouldn't surprise me if we do concede 1 or 2 with him being on the score sheet. and there's no doubt in his ability. He's got a big head, and I don't mean that in a metaphorical sense, or the fact I'm talking about the size of his head. He knows how to head a ball. He's very confident with heading the ball. As I said, he's got a hell of a left foot on him. So I do think he's going to cause us problems. Yeah,
he's one of those strikers that as you say, some of the balls we've put in the box as England, if we had Giroud in the team, we would have scored a lot more. He is in and around the penalty area. You give him the ball anywhere, he knows where the goal is. And so, as you said, his aerial prowess is right up there with the best in the world. So it will be an interesting take on what's going on Saturday. And obviously, every week we do make predictions. So it is time to make some predictions. What do you make of... Or actually, before we do that, let's get into what we predicted last time. Because we did some discussion last week about Germany growing into the tournament and this, that and the other. What we forgot to take into account was VAR was shit. And I think if I'm honest, a number of FAs will probably appeal against decisions and against things going on. And I think this could be the turning point for VAR in the Premier League. But that's something to get back to at Boxing Day after we've had another shit show of VAR once the Premier League's returned. But Mike, take us through the predictions from last week.
Okay, so we had Wales versus England. You had 2-1 for that. I had 1-1. So we know the score was 3-0, so that's 0 points for either of us. Sorry, just to confirm, it was 2-1 you had to Wales. Poland versus Argentina was another game. Obviously, we questioned about Argentina getting through to the latter stages. You had Poland 1-0. I had 3-2 to Poland. Score was 2-0. So it's 0 point for those two. Spain versus Japan. I've got to say this was an absolutely brilliant game.
Yep.
You had 1-1, Spain draw, and I had Spain to win 3-1. Score was 2-1 to Japan. Wasn't expecting that. So a big fat 0 for both of us.
Yep.
And then the final game was Germany versus Costa Rica. You had 4-0 to Germany. I had 2-1 to Germany. The score was 4-2. Therefore, it's a point each.
Yeah. So Japan have been my guilty pleasure this tournament. I think they've been the team to watch, and that's say Croatia knocked them out on penalties today. Phenomenal penalty prowess from Dominik Livakovic in the Croatia goal, kept them in it, and they're through. But I do think Japan maybe deserve the award of most entertaining team so far this tournament, because they've certainly gone balls to the wall and tried to counter people, and I think they've opened a few eyes. But yeah, so this week we're going to go with two of the games in the quarterfinal that have been definitely confirmed, which is Argentina-Croatia. Is that no? That's not right, is it?
No, it's
Argentina-Netherlands. Sorry, and England and France. So I think the Netherlands-Argentina game is first on the Friday. Sorry. So I'll let you lead with that one, and then I'll go first on England one, give you time to think about that one while I think about Argentina.
So just looking at Argentina's performance, started the tournament very poorly. It's another one of these situations where I've seen various memes and stuff about Lionel Messi dragging that team through to the latter stages of competitions. Do I think Argentina are going to win the tournament? No. It wouldn't surprise me if it goes to someone like Brazil, because Brazil have been absolutely phenomenal already this tournament. But I do think that given this game, I think Argentina are going to win this one. I'm going to go for, I think, 3-2 to Argentina.
Fair enough. It's a difficult game to call, I think, because the Netherlands started off a bit ropey as well, although they were scoring, but they've defensively a bit more sound now. And Argentina have sort of pulled to Germany, and they're starting to grow into the tournament a little bit. So I think What do I think? I think this is going to be a game where Lionel Messi bows out and retires from international football once again. I think it's going to end up 2-1 to the Netherlands.
Okay.
And I think it will be a very entertaining game. I think it may even go to extra time. But I do think the Netherlands are going to come out 2-1. And moving on to that, then that leaves us with England versus France, or France versus England, whatever way you want to do it. Here's the thing. We know we can score goals. I think our question mark is defensively, and I don't think we've really come up with a proper challenge yet. France are going to be that proper challenge. I don't think we're going to go goalless. I'm going to go 2-2 with us to lose on penalties.
Oh, okay.
Can I have that as a prediction?
Yeah. France.
So how does that work? Do I get, if we lose on penalties, do I get 3 points? Or do I get a point?
No, so you'll get a point for the correct, you get a point for the correct result, i.e. the draw.
Yeah.
And if France win on penalties, I'll give you another point.
Okay, and if it's 2-2, I'll end up with 4 points, and we lose on penalties, end up with 4 points. Yeah.
Sorry, say that last bit again.
If it ends up 2-2,
yep,
and then we lose on penalty, I end up with 4 points for a correct result and a bonus point for us losing on penalties.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. What do you think?
Do you know what? I'm gonna wear my heart on my sleeve on this one. I'm gonna call an England win. Again, we've shown moments of brilliance within this tournament, and you're right. France have got some key people missing. I think if we do go 5 at the back, or 3 at the back with the 2 wing backs, it kind of works in our favour potentially, because we can overload in the midfield and we can have that extra cover back when we're in defence. But I'm going to be optimistic, and this is where the predictions trophy always comes to bite me on the backside. But I am going to go for a 2-1 to England on this one.
Well,
England to score first.
Fair enough. It's one of those things that I think we're getting further into this tournament because there's no expectation. And I know that sounds a bit strange, but there has been no expectation that I've seen, that I've not seen any real hype about the tournament or anything like that. It's one of those, I think everyone expected us to be a bit shit. It's in the middle.
You certainly did.
It's not only that, obviously, there's other things going on in the world, isn't there? You've got this cost of living crisis, you've got, it's getting colder, it's Christmas. So everyone's focus is not on the World Cup as it would be in the summer when there's not a care in the world. You sit and have a beer and watch the football. So I think it's quite strange. And in some sense, I think that's aided us in some senses, that there's no expectation. So anything's a decent result. But yeah, I think quarterfinals this year. I do think quarterfinal. But Mike, I do have a question for you.
Go for it.
And that is around Declan Rice, who did an interview and said that he wanted to play Champions League football, which has led to all sorts of things, rumours coming out that he's going to leave, they're going to sell him, this, that and the other. Now, when you look at what he said, I don't, as a West Ham fan, I mean, his shirt's on the wall behind me. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. He's saying all of his mates are playing in Champions League and winning trophies. He wants to win trophies. He doesn't want to end up like Harry Kane, get to the end of the career and go, what a great player, but he won nothing. So, I mean, he's got, I think, the rest of this season and next season left on his contract. And it's been tipped to go to Man City or to Liverpool or to Manchester United. I think Real Madrid have been in there, PSG, so it could be a right bidding war for him. But do you think he's wrong to come out and answer that question honestly while he's on England duty, leaving West Ham sort of a little bit high and dry? Or do you think he's trying to send a message of, we need to win stuff or I'm going?
To be honest, I think there's 3 possible answers to that. But I don't think there's any shame in a player wanting or coming out and saying, I want to win trophies, 100%, or I want to play Champions League football. Who doesn't?
Yeah.
I think that's one of the reasons why kids and that start playing football, because one day they dream of playing in the Champions League, playing in the European Championships, playing in World Cups. That I think that would be like someone coming out and saying one day, "Oh, I want to play for England." What is the harm in that?
Yeah,
I mean, I get it from a perspective that it does send either a rocket up West Ham owners' arses to say, do you know what, we need to invest in our team to kind of compete for that. Obviously, he had a bit of European, I suppose, success last year, getting to the semi-finals, but I don't think there's any shame or any malice within what he's saying. And at the end of the day, footballers are paid employees. Do you know what I mean? If it comes to it, and he doesn't want to renew a contract or whatever, there's no loyalty in football anymore.
No.
As much as some people like to think they are, there's no loyalty. You're going to go to wherever's paying the most. That will give you the best opportunities to win silverware.
Yeah, no, I make you right, and I think that what he's done, I don't think he's out of order. What I am going to do is, over on the Beard and Hammer YouTube channel, which is all about West Ham, I'm going to drill into it a little bit more in depth about what his career and what he's done with us so far, and da-da-da-da-da. So if you want to go and have a look at that as well, that'll probably be out next week at some point. But what else was I going to say? Brazil. We mentioned them earlier. They are currently playing. I think they're still 4-0 up.
Yep.
Against South Korea. They have been tipped to win the tournament beforehand. That's who my money was on before the tournament started. Do you think they're still in with it to walk away with, I think it's a sixth? Might be a fifth or a sixth championship title.
Yeah, 100%. They've, I think, from what I've seen from the World Cup this year, is that it's been so inconsistent. Yeah. Anyone could beat anyone on their day, and I know that's very typical of football. But I think Brazil are the one nation that have shown teams how to play football. Yeah, they're direct. They've got such skillful players. They've got some quality players. It wouldn't surprise me if they do go on and win it. And I think from what we've seen from the tournament so far, they deserve to win it already. In my honest opinion. I mean, don't get me wrong. I would love for us to a Brazil England final. I don't know if it's going to be possible from the routes or whatever they go into it, but I would love that, and for us to beat Brazil, but it ain't going to happen. If we get to the final and we are up against Brazil, we are going to get demolished. And what will really piss me off is if Richarlison scores, because I absolutely hate that guy. Nothing to do with the fact that he's got the Spurs link or whatever, but no, I just
it's one of those players that grinds your gears a little bit.
Yeah, and do you know what I think as well? If Martinelli scores against us, is that going to create a lot of hate between Arsenal fans? Do you know what I mean? If he comes back to the Emirates and he scores the winner against us, 1-1, Martinelli comes on in injury time, bangs in the winner. Our Arsenal fans going to be pissed off.
No, I think what you have to look at is that actually leaves several World Cup winners in your squad.
Yeah.
You know, you have to look at the positives of these things. I mean, they were the only side in the whole tournament in the last group game to rest their first 11. It's paying dividends. They're 4-0 up in the first half. It's crazy. It is crazy stuff. But I mean, have you got anything else to add to footballing news this week? Because there's not much else going on. There's a few rumours happening with transfers and stuff because it's getting to that time of year as well. But obviously, the main focus of this is England at the minute. So I mean,
nothing from me. I think we've covered the main points. Obviously, there was the two players going home. I think just to sum up, basically what you said, I think wishing them, or I echo your responses and wishing them and their families well with whatever's happened, and just best of luck for the next game as well.
Yeah.
Come on, England.
Yeah, come on, England. Another step closer to me writing an apology letter to Harry Maguire. But until next time, I've been Ian.
I've been Mike.
Make sure you're subscribed to the YouTube channel. We will see you next week.
Thanks very much.